Today, we're going to talk about one of the most famous holiday tales of all time, Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol. But here's the thing you might not realize. This isn't just some cozy festive story. It's a straight-up ghost story. And it's a ghost story that had the power to change not only one miserable old man, but the entire holiday itself. So that brings us to a pretty wild question, right? How on earth did a story about ghosts and regret actually end up saving Christmas? It sounds kind of crazy, but to get it, we really have to understand the world Dickens was living in.
All right, so check this out. When the book first came out in 1843, Dickens wasn't subtle about it at all. The full title was actually A Christmas Carol in prose, being a ghost story of Christmas. He wanted you to know right from the get-go that you were in for a haunting.
So why did Christmas even need saving? Well, you have to understand, the holiday was in pretty bad shape. This was the Christmas that, honestly, almost disappeared.
It's really hard for us to picture now, but back in the early Victorian era, Christmas just wasn't the big deal it is for us. In fact, a lot of the traditions were just fading away. The whole thing was kind of fizzling out.
So, what was going on? Well, it was a perfect storm of a few things, really. First, you still had these old Puritan ideas floating around that were super suspicious of any big, fun celebration. Then, you've got the Industrial Revolution kicking into high gear. People were working insane hours in factories, leaving no time or energy for parties. And on top of that, everyone was moving to the big cities, leaving all their old village traditions behind.
So the picture is pretty bleak for Christmas. And then, onto the scene walks our hero, Charles Dickens. And he comes armed with what he called a ghost of an idea. And he tells us exactly what he's up to right in the book's preface. He says he wants to raise the ghost of an idea. And what was that idea? It was simple, really, that Christmas should be a time for being generous, for family, and for actually caring about other people, especially those less fortunate. Now, to sell this big idea, Dickens knew he needed the perfect villain. He needed a character who was the absolute, total opposite of the Christmas spirit. He needed Ebenezer Scrooge. And just look at him. He's described as a covetous old sinner. A guy so mean and selfish that his piles of money don't do anyone any good, not even himself. He was the perfect poster child for a society that had completely forgotten how to care.
And if you want to know everything about this guy in one sentence, this is it. He says this to his poor clerk, Bob Cratchit, because he has to give him Christmas Day off with pay. To Scrooge, the holiday isn't about goodwill. It's just a scam to take his money. Can you believe it?
But this is a story about change, and Scrooge is about to be dragged, kicking and screaming on a terrifying supernatural trip through time, led by 4 ghosts.
And it all kicks off with this guy, Jacob Marley, his old business partner, 7 years dead. Marley shows up dragging this heavy, clanking chain, a chain he explains he built himself, link by link, with every greedy choice he made in life. And then he drops the bombshell. Scrooge's chain is even longer.
I mean, that image of the chain is so powerful. It really makes you think, doesn't it? If we were forging chains today, what would they be made of? Maybe being glued to our phones instead of talking to people? Or chasing a career at the expense of everything else? It's a deep question.
So after Marley's terrifying warning, the first of the 3 main ghosts arrives. This one is all about memory. It basically grabs Scrooge and says, let's take a look at how you ended up like this. You weren't born a monster. You chose this. It forces him to see the lonely kid and the happy young man he used to be. Next up is the ghost of Christmas Present. This spirit is huge, joyful, and all about what's happening right now. He shows Scrooge all the warmth and happiness he's actively choosing to miss out on. From the party at his nephew's house to the poor but loving celebration at the Cratchits' home, it's a massive wake-up call. And then comes the scary one, the ghost of Christmas Future. This spirit is silent, dark, and absolutely terrifying. It doesn't have to say a word. It just points, showing Scrooge a future where he dies completely alone, where people are actually happy he's gone. This is the final shock to the system he needs. After that harrowing night, well, it works. The journey does its job. The old Scrooge effectively dies in his sleep, and a completely new man wakes up on Christmas morning. And you can just see the difference. On the left, there's the miserable miser. On the right, his very first act is one of pure joy and generosity. He's practically yelling with excitement, telling a boy to go buy the biggest prize turkey and send it to the Cratchit family. The transformation is just total.
And the book makes it clear this wasn't just a holiday fling. Scrooge stuck with it. He became known all over London for his kindness, and he kept the Christmas spirit alive all year long. His redemption is absolute. So that's the story of Scrooge. But the story of the book's impact is, believe it or not, even bigger. Let's look at how this one ghostly little book basically helped invent the Christmas we all celebrate today.
For starters, just think about our language. We all know what it means to call someone a Scrooge. The character was so instantly iconic that his name literally became a word in the dictionary. That's how huge the impact was. But it goes so much deeper. So many traditions we just take for granted were either popularized or basically cemented by this book. The idea of Christmas being a big family holiday? Check. The whole concept of a Christmas spirit? That's Dickens. Widespread charity, big turkey dinners, even the popular use of the phrase Merry Christmas? This story poured gasoline on all of it.
This quote, wow, it just gets me every time. When Charles Dickens died in 1870, a little girl in London apparently asked this question. Think about that. In her mind, Dickens and Father Christmas were so connected that if one died, the other might die too. He wasn't just an author, he was the guardian of the holiday itself.
You know, in the end, Dickens got his wish. Right at the beginning of the book, he said he hoped his ghost of an idea would haunt his readers' houses pleasantly. And for more than 175 years, it has. The story keeps showing up every single year to remind us that the real meaning of Christmas isn't about what you have, but about what you give. It's a message that's just as powerful and just as needed today as it was way back in 1843.